A decisive battle for the title of strongest continues. But after chapter 233, it's clear to everyone in the community that it belongs to Satoru freaking Gojo. Why? Well, defending Sukuna is impossible now. The dude has made it 3 verse 1, where Gojo has been pushed to the brink. And even though he put Sukuna to bedtime and asleep, where he was given a knockout blow, the development of the fight keeps going against his favor. Much like how we, joke around with Megumi having his life update get worse every other week, the same thing is happening to Gojo. But guess what the GOAT responds with whilst being face to face with the hands of the devil that reached him? A big old smile in ecstasy, revealing a new power called Unlimited Hollow? This is crazy!
So if you're not a fan of the words peak fiction, GOAT, raw, fire, click off of the video.
Now you may think, oh god, ABD is meat riding Gojo like he does every other week. But there is definitely good news for Sukuna as the foreshadowing of Satoru's death occurs once again.
Hey bro, come on now, dawg. Come on, man.
The fight resumes where we left off, with Sukuna recovering from Gojo's Black Flash. His punches are already laced with his blue technique, but adding Black Flash on top of that can actually be scaled mathematically. For example, in chapter 48, we are told that Black Flash enhances the destructive power of a strike by a normal hit to a power of 2.5. Now this doesn't mean the punch is being thrown 2.5 times stronger. No. But instead, it's exponential growth in power. The stronger the regular hit, the higher the multiplier. To put this better into perspective, a hit of 100 damage means Black Flash does 100,000 damage instead.
なるほど。わからん。
Alright. I know math might not be your strongest point. I'll add even more context for you. Since we know Gojo's normal punch has the potential to kill the likes of Jogo, and also made Yuta throw up, who mind you had the capability of tanking a granite blast from Ryu, whom claimed to have the highest curse energy output. In perspective, it highlights the inconceivable force Gojo's punch had. However, unfortunately, this also proves that Sukuna has the highest recorded defense we have ever come across, even better than Gojo. Think about it, if Sukuna was only knocked out for a few seconds and only lost his arms from a 200% hollow purple, it showcases that at least in physical defense, he is infinitely more durable than anyone in the whole verse. No wonder the dude is immortal and Gojo is left no choice to use his new technique, Unlimited Hollow, to weaken him for the others. But before that can happen, Mahgorga steps in to save Sukuna because he's now adapted to infinity, thus putting Sukuna at an advantage to use all his other abilities. The kaiju version of Mahgorga is amped up with the curse energy of 20-finger Sukuna, who has overcome the strongest defense in Jujutsu. This Mahgorga is much stronger than what we saw at Shibuya. A 15-finger Sukuna had no hitch disposing of Mahgorga with Malevolent Shrine, but he also admitted in chapter 118 that if he were a cursed spirit, he would be a goner against the Shikigami. But Gojo, despite having brain damage, using multiple domains, low output of his curse technique, and no infinity, he's still an equal to Mahgorga. Huh? It perfectly makes sense, since Gojo is as strong as Sukuna, if not even more. He is also capable of dispatching Mahgorga even at this nerf stage of the fight. Mahgorga still doesn't stand a chance against Gojo, which is why his deduction of Sukuna's strategy was correct. He knew Gojo could destroy it in one attack, so he always ensured Mahgorga was safe to adapt properly to infinity. It also makes it clear how easily Sukuna would have tamed not just this, but also all the other Shikigami of the 10 Shadows technique, despite that never being the case in its entire history. Simply put, Sukuna and Gojo are built different. And since I read your support comments weekly thanking us for breaking this fight down every week, I would appreciate it if you can smash the like button and the notification bell for the channel, as it helps us keep covering peak fiction. But speaking of peak, Gojo looks like he's losing his, as the wounds are healing more slowly because the output of his curse technique has taken a dip after the severe brain damage. Both he and Sukuna are experiencing this, but unlike Sukuna, Gojo only has his own curse technique to rely on throughout the fight, in which Mahgorga has already adapted to blue and is now on the offensive. Hence, the possibility of Gojo losing starts running through everyone's minds in this unfair fight. But what's even more shocking is Gojo's own thought process, because my man is reminiscing about Toji Fushiguro. Gojo himself acknowledges that the last time he thought he could lose was against him. So as he thinks about defeat, a different feeling of ecstasy overwhelms him. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is satisfaction. Just like Yoruzu's words to Sukuna about the loneliness that comes with being the most powerful, Gojo has also experienced that. Yet at this moment, he is more satisfied than ever, all thanks to this fight with someone just as strong as him. In other words, Gojo and Sukuna are literally nutting. However, Gojo jumps into beating the shit out of Mahgorga, testing out theories along the way. He chants the incantations for the red technique to attack Mahgorga in order to bring his lowered output back up. In chapter 223, we were told that going through the rituals of Jujutsu, like hand signs and incantations, reinforces the attack, making it much stronger, which is why Gojo is applying this method. However, it is at this instant that Sukuna finally wakes up from his slumber. Gojo acknowledges that the Black Flash definitely worked, and as soon as Sukuna wakes up to see Mahgorga being wrecked, he unleashes Rabbit Escape. Due to this, when Gojo fires red, the surroundings get destroyed and Mahgorga barely takes any damage. Gojo notes that whilst Mahgorga attacks, Sukuna is defending the Shikigami and creating an opening for it. He goes a step further to create a smoke screen using a fire extinguisher, but surprise, surprise, he takes the stance of a piercing blood technique.
Possible.
If you forgot, it is the inherited curse technique of the Kamo clan, and we saw Naruto Shikamo and Choso use it in the story. So had Sukuna somehow stolen that technique too? Thankfully, no, he was simply replicating the pose that he saw Choso using through Yuji's eyes at Shibuya to channel Max Elephant's water in the form of an arrow. Now there's a lot to dissect. It's a testament to Sukuna's skill, as he once again demonstrates that he only needs to look at a curse technique once to make it his own and better. He did the same with Gojo when he fixed his burnout with the reverse curse technique, and also to become immortal via seeing Kenjaku's methods. So it's admirable how Sukuna's affinity for Jujutsu allows him to analyze a technique with such efficiency and effectiveness. And what's more, he can use the powers of 10 Shadow Shikigami without even summoning them, like he did with Max Elephant. And that's completely busted. Just like us, Gojo wasn't expecting this attack and got hit, but he dodged Mahgorga's strike. Sukuna wasn't sticking to support, but was also jumping in with attacks as soon as Mahgorga overcame Infinity. This leads even Gojo to state that Sukuna is very crafty for using these tricks and tactics, just like himself. That being said, Sukuna turned this battle into 2 vs 1. But now you must be wondering, oh, ABD, why is Sukuna simply not using his own shrine technique to finish off Gojo when Mahgorga disarms Infinity? Well, the answer is that Sukuna cannot use 2 different curse techniques at the same time. Sukuna can't deploy shrine to cut off Gojo unless he uses it externally in his domain. What this means is that Sukuna's domain itself is imbued with his technique, which is why he could use domain amplification and even even 10 shadows within it. But without that, he can't do so. Plus, if he were to get rid of Mahgorga, he would lose the factor of having conquered both blue and infinity, leading back to a stalemate. Hence, Sukuna has no option but to use 10 shadows alone. In fact, the only reason Sukuna can even use other Shikigami is that Mahgorga has completed its adaptation to infinity, and now Sukuna can utilize more resources. Earlier in the fight, all of it was focused on Mahgorga taking down Gojo's defense, but now he can diversify it. This also implies that Mahgorga will now take longer to adapt to the red technique, so it is safe for the time being as Gojo's card. But whilst Gojo is also extrapolating all of this, Sukuna makes another move. He calls forth another Shikigami to make this fight not 2v1 but 3 vs 1. And this time, he combined 2 Shikigami, Niue and the Divine Dog's totality to manifest Chimera Beast Agito. Like, bruh, he got so scared by Gojo's thoughts alone that Daddy Mahgorga wasn't enough to save the day. Fraud Kuna needed to call his mommy to the brawl too. This is definitely the worst loser behavior ever. And even Gojo calls him out on it. He mocks Sukuna as a lost alien. Now, since we go deep, if you didn't know, Gege is referencing a real-life event called the alleged UFO crash of 1941 near Cape Girardeau. Some people claim to have seen a UFO, and a picture from this incident became infamous that showed 2 humans holding an alien which surfaced. Just for that little Easter egg, can I get a like? But now that the story has established that Gojo can defeat Sukuna in a 1 vs 1 battle, as technically speaking he has already beaten him 4 times over in this fight so far, we cannot deny that it is a smart act to use anything and everything at your disposal in a fight to the death. This development goes back to how unfair the Jujutsu world is. Cursed spirits are nothing but cursed spirits at the end of the day, a lesson that Yuji Itadori learned the hard way at Junpei's death. Even recently, in chapter 214, when Yuji asks Sukuna why does he spread misery, his response was, why are you so weak and cling to life? Continuing on a path like that leads to destruction. This is where Yuji was reminded of his lesson that people like Sukuna will always be curses, and killing humans is as natural to Mahito and Sukuna as killing cursed spirits is to Yuji. In a curse's eyes, they aren't evil because they want to be, but they can be evil because they come from the evil of humans, which is why Gege represented a wolf with Yuji against Mahito's rabbit when he declared he's just like him. Is a wolf truly evil because he eats a rabbit? A predator versus prey scenario. Similarly, Sukuna has no care for fighting honorably, but it is ironic that for someone who made claims of being above both cursed spirits and humans, he is fighting like a curse whilst totally dependent on a human child. I think this definitely plays into Sukuna looking at his own skull, calling out the irony of his own death, as it was a reference to Hamlet that all mortal beings shall taste death. If you break things down, Sukuna used Yuji's memory and megumi as a cushion against unlimited void, and is still using the 10 shadows technique to corner Gojo. They are the very humans that Sukuna declared worthless, like insects who live to be trampled on. So just like Gojo is more human than he seems, Sukuna is also more cursed spirit than he would admit, highlighting their contrasting ideals of what it means to be strong and victorious. In fact, Maki emphasized a tactic of curses in the prequel JJK 0 by stating that curses team up when they are weak. So despite considering himself the strongest and even calling out Jogo for conniving as a team to achieve the curse's goals, Sukuna is doing the same. In other words, the only thing saving Sukuna right now is depending on others. The philosophy of collectivism that Gojo represents instead of individualism. This just proves once again that Sukuna is being beaten not just physically, but also ideologically in this battle. No matter what, Gojo wins and is proven right in the end, even if we consider that Sukuna may use the gift Yoruzu gave him out of love. However, even as Gojo got jumped by all 3 opponents, he didn't take a single scratch.
That's why he's the GOAT!
Instead, he keeps pushing back and skillfully defends himself. He uses red once again on Mahgorga to realize that its adaptation is gradual instead of going from 0 to 100 instantly. So the more hits Mahgorga takes, the less effective red will be. On top of that, Sukuna's guard is up and he's trying to close the gap whilst attacking constantly, which means he is not prioritizing the adaptation to red. In this situation, Gojo concludes that his only option in this case is to take it down in one hit using a new technique, unlimited hollow. Yes! Ours and the community prediction has come true. Give yourselves a round of applause. Now remember guys, Hollow Purple shoots out a large amount of imaginary mass by combining red and blue, and Gojo's domain is called Unlimited Void. So this attack is a combination of both, something even more insane than a black hole. Just imagine a sphere full of colliding forces. That would be the most overpowered attack ever. Gojo's attack and recovery speeds are much faster than Mahgorga, so it will not be able to defend itself against such a massive attack. And once a Shikigami of 10 Shadows dies, it cannot be summoned again, which means that Sukuna's biggest card will be lost and he will be weakened, which is one of Gojo's goals. But let's not forget that Sukuna still has a massive arsenal on his side to use. Number 1, the other Shikigami of 10 Shadows, including the Dare, which can use the reverse curse technique. Number 2, his own curse technique, the Shrine, which can be used after Infinity is down. Number 3, the Fire technique from Open and other techniques that are stored in the same manner. Number 4, his final 4-arm demon form from the Heian era that came with the divine weapons. And number 5, the parting gift from Yoruzu that was left a secret. Sukuna still has a lot more to give, and so do I. So to enjoy more peak fiction, Boruto's time skip has started. Watch the video on your screen right now as I break down everything.